Thank you, Francois. Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us today where we kick off our global citizen discussion. The world has certainly changed dramatically over the last couple of years. The pace at which changes happen is also accelerating. The days of physical borders with limited contact to people and entities past those borders are long gone. Being so interconnected really does make a lot of aspects of our lives a lot easier. However, for financial advisors, it can either be a blessing or a curse. Clients have information available at their fingertips, and this information can often cause uncertainty and confusion. As financial advisors, you need to navigate this overwhelming stream of information and keep clients focused on their end goal. Along with clients being much more interconnected, we also know that a growing number of South Africans are considering immigrating or investing abroad. According to the latest statistics from the United Nations, the number of South African immigrants has steadily been increasing over the past decade. In 2020, an estimated 1.9 million South Africans were living abroad, with the majority of them residing in the United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States. We know that this is not only South Africans immigrating, but South Africa is also attracting a number of people from all over the world. As advisors, you already help clients plan for a number of life-changing events and how to best position their financial plans for events like retirement, savings for an education, or building a family. Similarly, you would also have to plan for the eventuality of a client or a family member immigrating or having family members in multiple jurisdictions. It's therefore imperative to ensure that your clients are well informed and aware of the risks involved with cross-border financial plans and what they can look out for to avoid suboptimal outcomes. At the same time, we also need to help clients take advantage of the opportunities that cross-border financial planning presents. Our global citizen discussion therefore aims to provide a new perspective on the complexities faced by financial advisors when putting these plans in place for their clients. Through this discussion, we want to help our advisors build a solid thought process and framework to help navigate an international financial plan. One of the biggest challenges that advisors and clients face when it comes to cross-border financial planning is navigating the different tax jurisdictions and the residency rules for the different countries. For example, if a client moves from South Africa to the United Kingdom, they will be subject to different tax rates, allowances, and exemptions. They may also need to file taxes in both countries, which can be complex and time-consuming depending on their tax residency. Determining a client's tax residency is also no straightforward exercise, and it often requires expert insight to determine which jurisdiction will have taxing rights, not just during the life of the client, but also at death. Speaking of taxes, Citus tax is another item that shouldn't be taken lightly. This tax can put enormous pressure on the liquidity of an estate if not planned for properly by clients. Structures like nominee companies, for example, do not provide protection against Citus taxes, with many foreign jurisdictions looking through the nominee to the actual beneficial owner of the investments. In many cases, this can be avoided with a simple life wrap product like an international endowment policy. Where this isn't planned for properly, clients can end up in a scenario where they may have to pay inheritance taxes on the specific assets in a jurisdiction, as well as estate duty in South Africa. It's therefore important to understand where there are estate duty agreements in place between the client's jurisdiction where they are considered tax residents and the jurisdiction where the assets are actually domiciled. Lastly, as an advisor, it's also useful to have a good understanding of Citus laws in other jurisdictions, as holding the assets in appropriate structures can avoid these punitive taxes eating away at the client's hard-earned wealth. It doesn't help the client's interests if they achieve a 40% return over the investment holding period if they must go and pay all that away in taxes again at death. Picking the right jurisdiction for international structures and investments is also crucial, as it can have significant implications on the legal, regulatory, and tax treatment of the assets held in those structures. Choosing a jurisdiction again comes down to the client's need. Do they want to set up an offshore company or a trust? Or is it purely to build their wealth offshore to provide for a need in future, like immigration or purchasing a property? On top of that, then come several other considerations, like what's the political environment in the specific jurisdiction? Do they have a stable government? Do they have exchange control in place, and how will it affect your client? How effective are the legal and regulatory systems at play? And very importantly, what is their tax system and how does it impact non-residents, for example? Do they have inheritance taxes or wealth taxes that clients need to consider, what legal systems is used in the jurisdiction, is it common law systems or is it civil law, and are there any probate requirements at play. These are just a few of the things that play a part in determining the appropriate jurisdiction for a client's needs. Tax avoidance has been a focal point for many tax authorities around the world. Things like donations tax and attribution rules make for a complex environment if not considered during the planning phase. Tax is only one element that advisors need to consider. The jurisdiction of the trust is almost equally important, and so too the domicile of the trust management company or the trustees of that particular trust. If the trust is set up in a jurisdiction that's not considered a financial center, for example, or a blacklisted jurisdiction, it can seriously affect the effectiveness of the structure from the word go. The complexities around trusts and making appropriate use of trusts cannot be summarized in one session, but our global citizen discussion will help shed light on the important factors that advisors and clients need to consider. Last but not least, something that most clients are fixated on, while often neglecting the true financial planning elements like the ones mentioned earlier, is how their asset allocation and investment strategy needs to change and adapt to their changing needs. For example, if a client moves to a different country, they may need to adjust their overall portfolio to manage risks like currency risk, country-specific risk, or even geographical risk. They may also need to consider the liquidity and the volatility of the investments in different markets, as well as any legal or regulatory restrictions on certain financial products to better align with their investment objectives and needs. Once a client has immigrated, chances are that a large part of their assets may still sit in retirement funds. This may lead to a case where the assets aren't sufficiently diversified globally, with things like Regulation 28 limiting their international exposure. They therefore need to weigh up the benefits and the drawbacks of withdrawing from the retirement fund, if possible, and reinvesting in hard currency versus keeping it in South Africa with a higher South African allocation. It's not just a currency hedge, but also a better regional allocation linking to the client's eventual need. The recent complications with Silicon Valley Bank, for example, is a good reminder of properly matching your assets and your liabilities, or rather future expenses, without taking unnecessary risks. In conclusion, cross-border financial planning really presents both opportunities and challenges for advisors and clients alike. I'm reminded of a quote that says, "A good financial plan is a roadmap that shows us exactly how the choices we make today will affect our future." I hope that through our discussion today you will find valuable insights and tips to formulate a sound framework to deal with global citizens. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to continuing the discussion in our upcoming masterclasses.